sparkles like what a light, source of life and beauty. She takes care, protects you and me. When all over her dazzling mountain peaks, the majesty of ages speaks. So how have we returned her love? By poisoning the skies above, burning down her marvelous trees, and pouring waste into her seas. So let's understand and face our acts. We destroy our earth, that's a fact. Can't we bring back a smile on earth? Help her rebirth.
The sea, our trash can.
Hey, come over here, everyone. I'll read you this article about our undersea exploration. The sea, our trash can. Humanity has long believed that its vast oceans could easily digest the waste it poured into them. This was once true, but no longer. Our seas are dying because of all the pesticides, nitrates, phosphates, slurry, and other farming residues continually being poured into them. Not to mention the deep water table that all these poisons will reach and pollute. All these poisons are carried away by rivers and flow into the sea, where they then meet non-degradable plastic waste, domestic wastewater, household garbage, not to mention polluted waste from factories.
Well, that will improve the quality of the water.
Hey!
Hey! All right.
The result? 90% reduction in fish and other marine life in a century. New species of toxic algae are invading coastal regions at an increasing rate. They destroy marine plants and the natural flora that purify water, which absorb half the carbon dioxide produced by humans, and provide breeding grounds for fish. These algae block out light, starve all aquatic life of oxygen, and kill fish. They poison shellfish and crustaceans, which in turn makes the people who eat them really sick. They also destroy coral. This important ecosystem is not only the greatest of breeding grounds for fish, but also one of the Earth's lungs. Now it is being suffocated by polluted mud and poisoned by pesticides and harmful waste that these new algae love. threatened with complete annihilation in the near future all over the world. And yet we continue to destroy everything as if there were no tomorrow. And that's unforgivable.
Huh, Carl this, Carl that. It's no big deal if it all disappears, is it?
Good that you've been listening. Do you have any idea what coral is?
Oh, well, yeah, it's stones. Stones that are mainly red with different shapes.
Well, it's actually a living organism that forms calcium carbonate. And fish live amongst coral and come and feed on it.
Ah, those other guys, you should have mashed them. Me, if I'd have been there...
Well, I don't think you've said enough about the tons of heavy metals like nickel, copper, zinc, and mercury that factories pour into the sea. All that filth that the fish absorb, and which we then absorb when we eat the fish.
Well, we can't say everything in just one article, but I haven't finished it yet. Miscellaneous waste, packaging, plastic bottles, and other items are often mistaken for food by large fish. And even turtles and some mammals like seals and dolphins, thinking that plastic bags are actually jellyfish, they feed on them, so they swallow them and choke. 100,000 sea mammals and 1 million seabirds die in that way each year. Today, there is 100 times more waste on beaches than just 10 years ago. And a bottle or plastic bag thrown into the sea will take centuries to biodegrade. So remember not to throw trash into the water or leave it on the beach. And you young people should make the effort to pick waste that others have left behind. Waste that will pollute the sea we love and which we need so much.
What are you doing, you idiots? Can't you think of a more intelligent game than polluting the sea?
Actually, no. You said we're idiots, so when it comes to smart games, we know none. And you got a problem with that?
Well, yes, we do have a problem with that. So we're asking you nicely to get the cans and bottles out of the sea and throw them away properly. It won't take you long, and we just hate to get our feet wet, you know.
$17 billion throwaway plastic bags are manufactured in France each year. 17 billion! Just imagine how many in the world. But some places, such as Germany, Taiwan, South Africa, or even Corsica, have banned them. Huh? So what's the rest of the world waiting for? This is an emergency, and there are other options available. Biodegradable bags, toughened bags, reusable bags you pay for, thermoplastic bags, recycled paper bags, cloth bags, and so many others.
I understand your indignation, Si, and share it, but you should know that supermarkets are giving out fewer and fewer throwaway plastic bags, and their manufacture will soon be banned by law.
That's great, Maestro.
Very good, but why has it taken them so long to do this?
Why so long? Well, that's human nature, I'm afraid. We prefer to ignore awkward situations, but where our planet is concerned, there is real urgency.
Meaning?
Yes. Where shall I start? Most of it's probably in your report, but there's always more to say.
Like what, Maestro?
We'd really like to know.
Oh, what can I say? You know, people are pouring tons of waste into the sea without the slightest concern for the consequences of their actions. And a large portion of this waste is plastics and waste from farming from cities and seashores themselves. There's also waste from drilling platforms and passenger liners and cargo ships. So let's focus on ships. We've deliberately sunk hundreds of old ships and trawlers in coastal areas. All of that is banned now, but whether people comply with the ban is another matter. And that's not to mention naval ships now lying on the seabed and covered with millions of tons of waste. Then there are the incredible quantities of sand and gravel taken from coastal areas that destroy the shoreline, probably to compensate for all the trash we chuck in the sea. Yes, that's how we're destroying the seas, and even the rivers. Take the Mississippi. It was one of the United States' richest fishing zones. But then they began to pour tons of nitrates into it. And the whole section died. Well, 300 kilometers long and 50 kilometers wide. That's 15,000 square kilometers. The Rhine is just an open sewer. Fish, birds, and tens of thousands of seals have died in the heavily polluted North Sea. Saturated with toxic waste, the Baltic has become a dead sea. And the Mediterranean may well end up the same way with all that people make it digest every year. Just think, it has 400 million inhabitants around its shores to pollute it. Some even load thousands of tons of waste onto old clapped-out tubs and sink them in the open sea. Even though the Mediterranean is already, in fact, one of the most polluted seas on the planet. In part because only 1% of the water is replaced each year.
So why is that then, Maestro?
Very few rivers flow into it. The Ebro, the Rhone, the Po, the Nile. But it's only connected to the ocean through the Straits of Gibraltar, which are barely 200 to 300 meters deep and don't let a lot of water through. On the other side, toward the Dardanelles and on the Black Sea, it's even worse. So there's a real chance the Mediterranean will be a lake.
Why do you say, Maestro, that the Mediterranean will again be a lake? Has it been one already?
Yes, it was a lake that completely dried up. It's a very old story, but I can tell you anyway, as I think you'll enjoy it. You know the Earth's crust is between 5 to 70 kilometers thick. Together with the mantle, which is under the crust, it forms the lithosphere, a scientific name for the tectonic plates that move below the sea, which sometimes collide with us, seeing the effects on land. A few 100 million years ago, all of this was moving a lot more, and as a result, the African plate collided with Europe and the Straits of Gibraltar closed up. If you prefer, I can show you exactly what it was like.
Huh?
That'll be more interesting.
So do you really think we can go back in time then, Maestro?
Don't worry, Maestro can do absolutely anything. Everyone knows he's a bit of a wizard.
Later, I'll tell you the story of how the Mediterranean dried up. But as we have to dive to the depths, let me introduce you to some of the living things we meet. Many of them are quite extraordinary, and you'll be able to see some of the rare endangered wonders in our sea. Ah, good, yes, we have a visitor. It's a lion's mane jellyfish, a dangerous creature with poison-filled tentacles. Now, I should say, it has a highly developed hunting instinct and an insatiable appetite. This one has come to see if there's anything edible to be found here. This is just a basking shark. It only eats plankton. A giant squid. It's an extremely rare animal. What a gorgeous creature. Though annoyingly perhaps a bit too possessive, so a little electrical encouragement will hopefully calm it down.
want to go home.
There's a moray eel. And a viper fish. Nice beast. A fish axe. Good teeth, wouldn't you agree? And that's a grand gousier. It can swallow prey much larger than itself. But we're a little too tough for its liking. And it's better to keep out of the way of this deep-sea spider crab.
We want to go home. It's no fun here. Mom!
A giant monkfish. And here's a cat shark. It has electroreceptors which help it locate its prey. But enough introductions now. We've reached the bottom, and I'm going to tell you the story we came here for. So, as I wanted to tell you, millions of years ago, our planet was warmer, and it moved a lot. One day, Africa drifted up, and the Straits of Gibraltar closed up. The water in the Mediterranean, which was much warmer than the ocean water, began to evaporate. Oh, only by about a meter or so a year. So it took 15,000 years. And so the end result? No more sea. Just crystallized salt deposits 2 kilometers thick.
And then?
Well, that lasted I don't know how long. And then one day, about 5 million years ago, there was another tremor, and the Straits of Gibraltar opened up again. So what happened? Well, the Great Flood would have been a summer shower in comparison. It was a complete desert at the time. Dinosaurs? Well, they had already disappeared some 60 million years before. As for humans, as we know them, they wouldn't be around for a few thousand years more. 20 times the Niagara Falls. 100 billion cubic meters of water a day. In just 1 century or so, the levels equaled out.
So you think that situation in the Mediterranean could happen again, Maestro?
I think that something will happen one day, but much more dramatic. Look at this map. The continents are moving. Here, you see the south of Europe. Here's France, Italy, and Greece. And here is Africa. So one day, Africa will push right up into Europe, and there won't be any Mediterranean at all. And the same thing will happen in Asia.
And when will that happen?
Oh, not for at least 10 million years or so. So we still have a while left to try to defend our Earth.
Even if that is gonna happen one day, why aren't the authorities doing anything about all the pollution to save the seas in the meantime?
They are as best they can, but there's so much resistance. And so many blind people who don't want to see. Known pollutants have been banned and conservation plans implemented, but who follows them? Cities are growing and their pollution is too. 85% of them pump pollutants with no treatment.
So, Maestro, we young people should act. We have to do something.
Oh, I'm counting on it. But don't forget, there's a lot left to do.
There's a ship in trouble! Could be another oil slick! Come see it!
What are they waiting for to plug the leak?
Well, as you know, this kind of thing really interests me. So I've done a little bit of research and written an article for the paper. I've got lots of photos and films to get people involved. You want to see them?
It's an environmental disaster. The tanker, the Imoko Cadiz, has just sunk off the coast of Brittany. Its cargo of 230,000 tons of fuel oil is already polluting 300 kilometers of coast and beach and threatening the lives of tens of thousands of seabirds. This must never be allowed to happen again.
Yeah, right. Never again. A year later, the Atlantic Empress sank in West Indian waters, pouring 278,000 tons of fuel oil into the sea. A new record, but not for long. In 1989, the Exxon Valdez went down off the coast of Alaska. 250,000 seabirds, 28,000 otters, 300 seals and sea elephants died, and billions of salmon eggs were destroyed. Shall I tell you one more? In 2001, the Jessica ruptured her hull near the Galapagos Islands. 15,000 iguanas, one of the rarest, most protected species in the world, were wiped out. That was 60% of the island's population. After that, there was the Erica, and the Prestige, and many others.
Wait, stop there. With the Prestige, the captain did all he could, and although he called for urgent assistance, the Spanish authorities ordered him out to sea.
And the owner was Greek. The ship was registered in Liberia, the charterer was Russia, and he lived in Switzerland.
This is all very interesting, but we have to find solutions.
All very interesting, but we have to find solutions.
Come see this. Look at this map. In the last 10 years, more than 50 ships have caused oil slicks worldwide. And what are we doing? Just talking.
After the Prestige, the European Union passed a law banning all ships without a double hull.
Yes, effective 2017. It seems the ship owners won't be ready before that. But laws should be made to protect people. The earth, the sea, and not just ship owners.
We have to be able to find a way of making the polluters pay, don't we?
It's not that simple. The polluters are slippery people. And as Simon said, their junk ships all sail under flags of convenience. You see, the United Kingdom, one of the greatest sea powers in the world, has a registered fleet of 6 million tons, while Panama, a tiny state, has a fleet 20 times bigger, 120 million tons. Imagine trying to sue the owners of those ships. But what I wanted to tell you, it's all the ships that flush out, that empty their dirty tanks at sea, who pollute 10 times more. In the Mediterranean alone, 1,000 ships flush their tanks every year. 1,000! 800,000 tons of filth poured into the sea, and much more worldwide. And that doesn't include all that garbage and toxic waste created by human activity and which represents 75% of the pollution of the seas.
We have to stop them, react, do something. But do what, Maestro?
We would need to create systems and structures in the ports so that ships' holds could be properly cleaned. But these controlled port-based garbage dumps hardly exist.
And what else then, Maestro?
I've already told you. Gather all the young people of the world around you. There is strength in numbers, and then you'll be listened to. You'll make everyone see that the politicians' short-term approach is not acceptable. That it's your Earth and your heritage that is being ruined, but it is the strength of speaking with one voice that will force them to listen to you.
See the mother who gave us birth, our faithful guide and friend, the earth. Look to her skies, so dear and so bright, that warm our hearts and bring us light. What a light, what a light.